This happened about a month ago. I was 32 years old and thought I could find some hidden gems for my travel blog. I loved exploring the back roads of America. I stopped at little towns and old gas stations, hoping to capture something real. One night, I was driving late when I saw a figure by the road with their thumb out. I slowed down and pulled over. It felt normal at first, just another hitchhiker, right? But something felt off. He didn't say a word, just stared ahead like I wasn't there. I tried to make small talk, but his silence hung heavy. I felt uneasy. The next week, I picked up a woman. She had a strange look in her eyes. I was nervous, but I figured she was just tired. I glanced at her. She never spoke. My heart raced as I drove down the empty highway. I thought maybe stopping at a diner would change the mood. When I turned to ask her if she wanted to join me, she was gone. Just gone. After that, I was more careful. But then there was another man, another desolate stretch of road. I felt paranoid. Each passenger had odd stories that didn't quite fit. They asked me strange questions that left me confused. My blog was finally getting attention, but dread sank into my chest. Where did these people go? I began to notice gaps in my memory. One day, my neighbor asked about my blog. I couldn't recall the faces of most hitchhikers I'd picked up. It was unsettling. Every time I drove those empty roads, the trees closed in around me. I felt like I was losing touch with reality. Then it happened again. One late night, I picked up a woman who just stared out the window. My hands gripped the wheel. I don't even know why I was driving faster. I felt the weight of her gaze, heavy and suffocating. I was scared. "Where are you going?" I asked. She turned to me, her eyes wide. Then she asked, "Why are you taking me home?" I slammed on the brakes. I turned back. The seat was empty. My heart pounded in my chest. I didn't know what to think. I hadn't picked anyone up that night. The road was empty, and yet I could feel the air shift, like something was watching me. That feeling of being followed grew stronger. Each day after, I found myself less interested in my blog. I couldn't focus. I drove on the same roads again and again, searching for something I couldn't name. The faces of the hitchhikers faded like old photographs. I started questioning everything. The last time I drove, I had this strange dream. I saw their faces in my mind, but I couldn't remember their names. When I woke, it felt like they were still with me. But I never picked anyone up that night, did I? And if I didn't, then who were they? The next day, I decided to drive again. I was desperate to reclaim some normalcy. My plan was to get out on the road, make a few stops, and maybe even write a new post. Driving felt like the only thing that could clear my head. As I cruised down an old highway, the sun dipped below the horizon. The shadows grew longer, and the trees loomed overhead like dark giants. I felt a familiar tension in my body. Anxiety prickled at my skin. I tried to focus on the road ahead, but my mind kept drifting back to those strange encounters. That's when I saw it, a flash of movement in my rearview mirror. I glanced back, but there was nothing there. I shook my head. Just my imagination playing tricks again, right? I took a deep breath and turned on the radio to distract myself. A familiar song played, but I listened to the lyrics with a sense of unease. They spoke about lost souls and wandering paths. It felt too fitting, too close to what I had been experiencing. Minutes later, I approached a small diner I'd passed many times. The neon sign flickered, offering a ghostly welcome. I decided to stop. Maybe a cup of coffee would ground me. Inside, the diner was nearly empty. Just one other table occupied by an old man who stared into his coffee like it held all the answers. I took a booth in the corner and ordered my drink. As I waited, my gaze wandered around the room. The walls were plastered with photographs of travelers and old hitchhiking signs. I felt a chill run through me. Then I noticed a photo pinned beside the door. It was a faded image of a group of people holding up a sign that read, "Going West." But there was something about their faces. They looked familiar, as if I had seen them before. My stomach twisted. I leaned closer to get a better look, and there, in the background, was a woman who looked just like the hitchhiker from my last nightmare. A sudden jolt of recognition hit me. I stood up, nearly knocking over my coffee. The old man looked up, eyes narrowing, as if he could sense my urgency. I rushed outside, my heart pounding. It felt like all the air had been sucked out of the world. The diner behind me faded into darkness. I put my hand on my car door, but hesitated. I felt an invisible weight pulling me back, as if something was waiting. And then I heard a whisper, soft and barely audible. "Don't go." My blood ran cold. I turned slowly. The road was empty, but the feeling of being watched enveloped me. I looked around, my breath shallow. I wanted to flee, but felt rooted to the spot, paralyzed by fear. As I stood there, processing what had just happened, the image of that photo nagged at my mind. How did I know them? Why did they look so lost? And what was waiting for me on this road? Something was wrong. I had to find answers, but where would I even start? I hesitated by the car, feeling the chill creep over me. The whisper lingered in the air, weaving itself into the fabric of my thoughts. Don't go. It was as if the road itself was pleading with me, but why? I shook my head, trying to dispel the growing anxiety. It wasn't like me to give in to fear. I took a step back and glanced towards the diner again. The old man was now peering out the window, his eyes wide and searching. Was he watching me, or was he somehow aware of what was unfolding? I felt exposed, and the urge to escape washed over me once more. But something drew me back to the photograph inside. I had to know more. I returned to the diner, the door squeaking as I pushed it open. The old man glanced at me, but quickly returned to his coffee. I scanned the walls, my eyes landing on the faded photo again. It was calling to me, like a puzzle that needed solving. "Can you tell me about this?" I asked, pointing to the picture. The old man blinked slowly, then looked me dead in the eyes. "Those are the lost," he said, his voice gravelly and low. "They didn't go west." "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to swallow the lump forming in my throat. "They were traveling, like many before them, but they never made it to their destination." He paused, a shadow flickering across his face. "It's not just a photo, it's a warning." I frowned, an uncomfortable pit forming in my stomach. A warning about what? He took a deep breath, like he was gathering courage. "There are roads. Some lead to nowhere. If you're not careful, you can end up trapped between two worlds." His words rippled through me. Trapped? I thought of the feeling from earlier, as if something really was waiting for me. The woman in the picture. If she was also trapped. "Have you ever seen them?" I asked, my heart racing. "The people in the photo?" "No," he replied, shaking his head slowly. "But I've felt their presence. They linger, looking for a way to be found." My mind raced. Maybe I didn't just recognize them. Maybe they were reaching out for help. I had to know what happened to them. The old man looked down into his coffee again, dismissing me. "Do you believe in fate?" I pressed, feeling a strange urgency to understand. He glanced back. Fate or a trap? Before I could respond, the door swung open. A gust of wind blew through the diner, causing the old man to shudder. I turned to see a figure step inside, a girl dressed in worn clothes, her hair unkempt. She looked just like the woman in the photograph. "Help me," she whispered, her eyes wide and pleading. The tension in the room thickened. I felt everything spiral out of control. Who was she? Why did she look so familiar? Before I could ask, she took a step towards me. And then, everything blurred. The diner walls began to fade, and a low humming filled the air. The familiar shadows returned, stretching towards me as if reaching out in desperation. What was happening? I couldn't let this slip away. I needed to fight against whatever was coming for me. But how? I tried to focus on the girl's face as the world around us distorted. Her features were soft but haunted. The diner flickered like a faulty light bulb, and suddenly I was standing on a deserted road, the smell of asphalt mixed with something sweet and rotten. "Where are we?" I gasped, looking around. The girl didn't answer, but reached out towards me, her eyes filled with urgency. "Please," she begged, her voice echoing strangely, as if it carried through water. "You have to help them." "Help who? What do you mean?" I felt panic claw at my chest. The shadows swirled around us, and I could hear whispers echoing through the fog. Suddenly, the ground rippled beneath my feet, and I staggered backward. The diner was gone. All that remained was darkness and a single flickering light in the distance. The girl pointed toward the light. "Over there." With trembling legs, I began to walk, trying to ignore the voices that pressed in on me. "Don't go. Don't go." Each step fueled my fear. What was behind me? As I approached the light, it started to shift. I squinted and saw figures standing there, the lost ones from the photograph, their faces twisted with despair. They were transparent, barely there, but their looks were unmistakable. "What happened to you?" I whispered, feeling drawn to their plight. The girl beside me nodded, urging me closer. Just then, I felt a pull on my arm. I turned to see the old man standing there, his expression troubled. "You can't help them," he said, his voice urgent. "Whatever you think they want, it's a trap." My heart raced. I was caught between two worlds, and the shadows swelled around me. I could hardly breathe. "What do you mean?" I shouted, but my voice felt lost in the chaos. "Don't trust what you see," he cried, and in the next instant, my vision darkened. When the world returned, I was back in the diner, but it was different. The lights buzzed overhead, flickering faster, and the air felt thick like a storm about to break. The girl was gone, replaced by a sense of suffocating dread. I glanced around, looking for the old man, but he was no longer at the table. A commotion erupted from the kitchen, pots clattering and something heavy hitting the ground. "Is anyone there?" I called, my voice trembling. No answer, just the sharp sound of metal clanging against tile. I stepped cautiously toward the kitchen, but the door was slightly ajar. That's when I saw it. A shape standing in the shadows, the outline of a figure. Someone or something was blocking my way. The shadows coiled at my feet, and I fought the urge to run. "Who's there?" I demanded, my heart pounding. The figure shifted, and I felt a cold breeze brush against my cheek, carrying with it the faintest echo of familiar laughter. My stomach twisted in knots. I stood frozen, knowing I had to face whatever was coming, but a deeper instinct screamed for me to flee. But I couldn't. I needed answers. "Show yourself," I said, feeling bolder than I truly was as the air thickened around me. And then I realized whatever lay ahead could change everything. The figure stepped forward, breaking the silhouette against the flickering light. I squinted, trying to make sense of the shifting shadows. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice wavering. "Curious, aren't you?" The voice was low and raspy. I felt goosebumps prickling my skin, but I didn't back away. The figure came closer, revealing a face I didn't recognize but felt oddly familiar. Dark circles framed hollow eyes that seemed to search deep within me. "You've been looking for answers." "Answers? What do you know?" I took a cautious step forward, a mix of fear and determination flooding my veins. "They're not what you think," the figure said, glancing toward the kitchen door that still stood ajar. "The ones you saw in the light, they don't want to be saved. They want to keep you." Each word twisted my stomach tighter. "Keep me," I repeated, hardly able to believe it. "From what?" "The truth. The figure smirked, revealing teeth like worn ivory. "And here you are, stumbling through traps of your own making." A chill gripped me, and the kitchen suddenly felt claustrophobic. "You're a part of this, aren't you?" I accused, feeling the shadows tense around me. "You know what happened to those people." "They're lost, just like you, and the only way out is to let go," the figure said calmly. The way they spoke felt almost dispassionate, as if I was just another lost soul. "Let go? You think I'm going to just walk away from this?" I felt the weight of my own decision closing in on me. I wanted to help those lost souls, but dread twisted alongside an aching urgency in my heart. "You can help them, or you can join them," the figure said, their tone turning dark. The dulcet edge made my pulse race, and something in their voice resonated with the echoes I'd heard earlier. "Who are you?" I felt desperate to know. "What do you want from me?" Then everything went dark. The lights flickered out, and I stood in total silence. My breath caught in my throat, and I struggled to find my footing. I pressed my palms against the cool wall beside me, feeling the contours of the diner around me, but it all felt unreal, like a warped dream. The darkness felt alive, breathing, wrapping around me like a thick fog. My heart thudded harder. "What's happening?" I whispered, panic threading through my voice. I strained to hear something, anything, through the oppressive stillness. Then a soft whisper broke through the silence, so faint I could hardly distinguish it from my own thoughts. "Help us." The plea brushed against my ear like a forgotten memory. And at that moment, I realized the truth that the figure had hinted at. It wasn't just those souls, it was something greater. A new understanding dawned on me, but it felt like a curse just as much as an answer. I stiffened as I sensed movement nearby. There, in the shadows, was that familiar laughter again, taunting. I wasn't alone. Whatever I had awakened was hungry, and my chance to turn back was slipping away. "Please, don't!" I shouted into the void, feeling the walls close in on me. I had to find a way out before it was too late. I stumbled backward, my heart racing. Panic surged through me as I swung my arms out, desperately trying to find a wall or anything solid to hold on to. Just as I thought I'd lose my footing, my hand brushed against something warm. I recoiled, fear clawing at me. "Who's there?" I called out, trying to mask my voice with bravado. I could feel my pulse in my ears, too loud, too chaotic. "Don't be afraid," a soft voice replied, lilting yet hollow. "We're here to guide you." "Guide me?" I blinked into the dark, struggling to locate the source. "Why would I trust you?" A faint glow flickered to life in front of me, revealing a young woman with long hair that flowed like smoke. Her eyes seemed to draw me in, making it hard to look away. "We've seen what they've done," she said, her voice a mixture of desperation and hope. "You have to listen." My instinct screamed at me to run, but curiosity held me in place. "What do you mean? Who are they?" She glanced around, as if worried the shadows might hear us. "The ones in the light. They've trapped us here for too long. You have a chance to free us." "Free you?" I repeated, my brain struggling to process everything. I remembered the figure's warning of losing myself. "But I don't even know who you are. Why should I believe you?" A line of flickering light intertwined with the darkness, creating a path. "Because you felt it too. The pull, the whispers. It's time you understood your role in this." It felt like the words sifted through me, and I realized she was right. The whispers had always been there, haunting echoes of lost souls calling out for help. But that knowledge didn't make it any less terrifying now. "Show me," I found myself saying before I could think better.
Of it. The girl smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Follow me." She turned and started down the shimmering path, her feet light against the ground. I hesitated, then stepped forward, my heart a mix of fear and hope. As I walked behind her, the shadows shifted around us. I looked back, half expecting the figure to reappear, but the darkness held its secrets tight. We passed what seemed like a door, aglow with a warm, inviting light. "Beyond here is the truth." Her words danced in the air, spoken in a tone that suggested sacredness, but I felt an urge of dread creeping up my spine. "You must be ready." "Ready for what?" I asked, needing clarity. "What's really happening?" "Ready to face your fears." And just like that, I realized I was standing on the edge of something monumental. I could either turn back or step through the door and confront whatever was waiting for me on the other side. "What if I can't handle it?" I whispered, anxiety clawing at me again. "Then you'll become one of them." Her words echoed ominously. In that moment, I saw the gleam of the figure's smile flash in my mind, a reminder of the choice that loomed before me. "I have to know," I said, the resolve hardening in my chest. I took a deep breath and stepped toward the glowing door, ready to find out what truth awaited me. As I stepped into the glowing doorway, I braced myself for the unknown. The light enveloped me, warmth washing over my skin, but it was deceptive. I was pulled into a swirling vortex of color and sound, and before I could gather my thoughts, everything shifted. I landed on my knees on a hard surface, gasping. The air smelled strangely sweet, mixed with something metallic. Slowly, I pushed myself up, wincing at the odd sensation in my limbs, which felt heavy and detached. Before me stretched a vast expanse, a landscape that twisted and writhed like a living organism. "Welcome," the girl said, softly from beside me. I turned to find her there, unchanged, her eyes wide with expectation. "Where are we?" I asked, my voice shaky and uncertain. "This is the veil," she replied, gesturing to the undulating ground. "The place between the worlds. Here the truth unfolds." I could see shadows flickering at the edges of my vision, silhouettes weaving in and out of focus. "What truth?" I stammered, feeling a rush of dread. "What is happening here?" "Everything you seek lies within. You must confront what you've run from." Her voice was firm, but her expression hinted at something darker. "But I don't know what I'm running from." Panic rose in my chest again as I looked around, the shadows beginning to congregate, their whispers intensifying. They felt familiar, like echoes of my own fears. "The shadows represent your doubts, your regrets. You've brought them with you." She reached out, pointing, and I followed her gesture. Just ahead, a figure detached itself from the darkness as if it had been waiting for me. My heart raced. It was a version of me, but twisted, with hollow eyes and a smile that sent chills down my spine. "What do you want?" I croaked, taking a step back. "It's not what I want, it's what you fear," the figure said, its voice an uncanny mimicry of my own. "You've tried to ignore me, but I'm part of you." I swallowed hard, the weight of recognition pressing down on me. "No, this isn't real. You're not real." "But I am," it replied, taking a step forward. Each movement felt like a dagger to my chest, and the shadows danced around us, filling the air with a low, mocking chant. "Face me, or lose yourself completely." The girl stepped closer. "You can choose to confront them. You have to get past your fear. Only then can you find the key to freeing us." I felt torn, unsure if I could face this dark reflection of myself. The hints of dread turned into a wave of nausea. "If I let it in, it'll consume me." "Or it will set you free," she insisted with fervor. The shadows tightened, and the figure moved closer, its laugh echoing in my ears. In that moment, I understood. I had a choice to make, not just about this encounter, but about my entire existence.
"Enough!" I shouted, though my voice trembled. The figure paused, surprised. "If you want me to face you, then let's do this. I'm not afraid anymore." The darkness around me pulsed, and I felt the atmosphere shift. Then everything went dark. I felt a jolt as the darkness abruptly lifted. I was back on solid ground, but it was different now. The hues around me had softened, turning an eerie pastel shade, like a dream that was losing its grip on reality. I was no longer in the same space, but in a strange, hollow corridor, lined with doors that seemed to hum with energy. "Where are we now?" I asked, my voice echoing down the hallway. The girl walked beside me, her expression thoughtful. "This is the passage," she replied. "Here, you can choose which truth to confront. Each door holds a different piece of your past." I glanced at the doors, all different sizes and shapes. Some were ornate, while others appeared warped and decrepit. "What if I choose the wrong one?" "You won't," she said, her voice steady. "Trust your instincts." Taking a deep breath, I stepped towards a door that glowed faintly. As my fingers grazed the surface, it swung open with a creak, revealing a scene that set my heart racing. I was back in my childhood home, the living room filled with laughter, but I was not the one laughing. My younger self, full of innocence and joy, was playing with friends. But there was a shadow lurking in the corner, watching, waiting. My joyful memories twisted into a feeling of dread, almost palpable. "Why is it here?" I asked, stepping backward. "That shadow is part of your fear. It represents the moments you wish to forget." The girl's voice was low, almost a whisper. "You must reclaim those moments." "I don't want to face it," I argued, panic rising again. "I'm fine with leaving it behind." "Are you?" she challenged, stepping closer. "You thought you could ignore it, but it's what's holding you back." Just then, the laughter from the memory warped, turning into a cacophony of accusations and lies. The shadow moved closer, its eyes boring into mine, cold and empty. "You can't escape me," it hissed. "You're weak. You've always been weak." "No," I shouted back, fists clenched. "I'm not weak. I'm not listening to you." The girl nodded, encouraging me. "You're stronger than you believe. Face it." Gathering what little courage I had left, I stepped forward again, focusing on my younger self. "This is my past, and I own it. It does not define me." The shadow shimmered, momentarily losing its form, as if my declaration had struck it. But it quickly regained its presence, lunging at me. "You cannot deny me." Adrenaline surged through me. "Watch me," I yelled, pushing through the fear. The warmth from my heart spread out, pushing against the encroaching darkness. Suddenly, a burst of light enveloped the entire room. The laughter turned real again, the joy flooding back, and with it, the shadow recoiled, shrieking as it dissolved into thin air. I stood breathless, staring at where the shadow had been. The girl smiled, relief washing over her face. "You did it." But as the glow began to fade around us, something unexpected happened. A new door at the end of the corridor creaked open, seemingly on its own. I winced, knowing I hadn't chosen it. A chilling breeze wafted from it, carrying an unmistakable sense of danger. "Is that—" I started, my instincts screaming at me to retreat. But it was too late. The figure from the darkness stepped through, its hollow eyes fixed on me once more. The figure moved slowly, deliberately, its outline blurring at the edges like a fog that refused to lift. My heart pounded in my chest as I took an involuntary step back, glancing toward the girl beside me. But she was gone, leaving me to confront this horror alone. "Who are you?" I managed to croak out, my voice barely breaking through the stillness of the corridor.
The figure tilted its head slightly, and with a raspy whisper, it replied, "I am what you fear most." The words washed over me, chilling me to my core. I had already faced a shadow, but this was different. This presence was electric, humming with a danger that felt far more tangible. I had opened a new door, but I had not been prepared for what lay behind it. "It feeds on your doubt," it continued, slowly advancing. "You've allowed it to fester for too long. Now you must confront not just your past, but what you are afraid of becoming." I glimpsed a flicker of memory, a moment I had pushed away, the feeling of endless inadequacy, the times I had given in to despair. "No, I won't let you in," I insisted, summoning my last reserves of courage. But every step it took was accompanied by a tightening in my chest. Its hollow eyes seemed to pull me in, reminding me of every failure, every moment of shame. "You cannot escape your truth, not now," it hissed, sounding almost pitiful. I clenched my fists, trying to shake off the weight enveloping me. If I had defeated the shadow once, I could do it again. "You don't control me," I shouted, but doubt seeped into my voice. "Am I wrong?" it challenged, lingering just out of reach. "Look at you. Look at all the strength you think you have." With each of its words, it rooted itself deeper into my thoughts, trying to cast shadows over my recent victory. "You're weak. You'll always be weak." "No!" I screamed, frustration pouring out of me. "I'm not weak." But as I stood there, fear waged war with my determination. The corridor began to tremble, as if the very walls could sense my internal struggle. Then something shifted in the air, a sense of urgency creeping in from the stillness. Just as I felt myself teetering towards despair, I caught a glimpse of a reflection in the wall, a moment of clarity. "You don't define me," I declared, desperately grasping for that previous strength. "I will not let you take over." The figure recoiled slightly, a flicker of uncertainty coursing through it. Encouraged, I took a step forward, my heart pounding even harder. But then everything changed. The corridor began to fracture, the pastel colors swirling violently around me. "No!" it rasped, as cracks appeared, splintering the wall. That's when I noticed it, a strange light glowing faintly beyond the chaotic vibrations, flickering like a distant beacon of hope. It beckoned me, urging me to go through. I had to make a choice, face the figure or leap into the unknown. The walls gave another shudder, and I sensed that time was running out. I could feel the lingering presence of doubt pulling at my heels. I took a deep breath, ready to sprint toward the light, but just as I turned, the figure lunged, desperately trying to hold on to me. "You can't escape, remember? I will always be with you." I bolted forward, the corridor collapsing behind me, the warmth of the light growing stronger, and with it, hope bloomed in my chest. Then everything went dark. I blinked my eyes open to the unmistakable sound of crickets chirping and the rustling of leaves. The familiar scent of earth and the cool night air washed over me like a long-lost friend, grounding me in reality. I was lying in the middle of a road, the stars peeking from behind a veil of clouds above. For a moment I lay frozen, absorbing the silence. Had everything I experienced really happened? Pushing myself up, my hands met the asphalt, rough and gritty beneath my palms. I could see my car parked a distance away under a street lamp, the glow flickering like a weak heartbeat. A surge of relief rushed over me. I was back. Whatever world I had been swept into was gone. But as I stood up, a peculiar sensation enveloped me. The air throbbed with something I couldn't quite identify, a lingering tension that refused to dissipate. I turned my head to scan the trees lining the road. For a brief moment, I thought I saw a figure dart between them, disappearing in a flash. My heart skipped a beat. Could it be? I shook my head, trying to dismiss the remnants of dread. "It's over," I whispered to myself.
though a part of me remained unsettled, haunted by memories I couldn't fully grasp. With hesitant steps, I approached my car. The door creaked as I opened it, revealing my travel gear and camera haphazardly strewn about, just as I had left it. I slid into the driver's seat, taking a deep breath and clutching the steering wheel as if it would somehow anchor me. I turned the key in the ignition, and the engine roared to life, the comforting rumble washing away the traces of uncertainty. Yet an unsettling thought crept into my mind. I still had questions. What had been real? What had I truly faced? The figures from the photographs, the whispers, the threatening presence in the dark. Did they chase me, or were they a reflection of my own fears? As I began driving, the landscape blurring past, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me from the roadside, lurking just beyond my periphery. I glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see shadows creeping behind me, but only saw the empty stretch of the road behind. A mix of exhaustion and confusion coursed through me, and I wondered if I should have tried harder to understand the voices that begged for help, or if it was wiser to heed the warning of the old man. I'd escaped, yes, but at what cost? Suddenly, my phone buzzed in the passenger seat, breaking the silence. I picked it up, half expecting a notification from my blog, but instead found a text from an unfamiliar number. Curiosity piqued, I opened it. A single question blinked back at me. "Are you lost?" My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't the message itself, but the old feeling of unease that settled deep in my chest. I could almost hear the whispers echoing in response, sharpening my instincts. I typed back, "I don't know what you mean," and immediately hit send. Would it reach someone waiting for an answer, or was it a trap, just like the ones I had almost fallen into? I resolved to keep driving, to put as much distance between myself and the past as I could. But as I continued down the road, uncertainty hung heavy in the air, a reminder that I might still be tethered to the hidden truths of my journey. Sometimes the lines between the seen and the unseen blur, and escaping one realm doesn't always mean you're free from another. With every passing mile, I couldn't shake the thought that maybe I hadn't truly escaped at all, that the road was still unveiling the paths I had yet to discover, with questions lingering, strongest of all, just how many lost souls would remain wandering the roads I once thought I knew. Days later, I found myself contemplating a return to those back roads, my blog gathering dust in the corner. But as I stared at the map pinned to the wall, my heart raced with hesitance. I could feel them, the echoes of voices, tugging at the corners of my mind. "Help us," they whispered, and just like that, I was left wondering, where do you go when you don't even know where you've been?